I gotta say, I genuinely do not care that Ciri is a witcher. And I know this upsets a lot of people because they're like, well, V, how can you not care? And well, I genuinely don't. Like, if I don't, do you want me to lie to you? I mean, I could lie to you. I could tell you that, oh my goodness, I am absolutely outraged. But is that what you want? Do you want me to be disingenuous? Do you want me to be the grifteur? Because I'm not the grifteur. Like, I genuinely do not care about this. And I know, like, some people are like, oh, I will unsubscribe. And I'm sorry to hear that, but I still won't lie. I genuinely do not care that Ciri is now a witcher. With that out of the way, I can definitely understand where some people that do care are coming from. Just because I don't care like they do, it doesn't mean that, okay, well, I can see your point, even though I don't share it. And the point of these people is like, well, why can't we have the story of Geralt becoming a sorcerer? Right? I mean, you can write it. I'm pretty sure, maybe Geralt's proximity to Ciri got some of the Elden blood. Maybe Geralt was wounded and he had like a blood transfusion from Ciri, and now he can cast magic, right? And now he joins the Sorcerer Lounge, and while in the Sorcerer Lounge, he porks all the female sorcerers, and he actually gains dominion, and now Geralt is puppeteering all of the kingdoms, right? I mean, you can write that. Why wouldn't you? It's fictional. It's a suspension of disbelief. Would people like that type of story? Probably not. I mean, I guess it depends, like people who never played the original Witchers, who never read the book, maybe they would like to see Chad Geralt just porking all the sorcerers in the lounge, and they all become his sex slaves, not with bondage, but just by the power of his sheer charisma and personality. And he's now like telling them, you go to this kingdom and you do this and you go to here, right? It would be a take. It would be an interesting story, but I assume that certain fans of the original Witcher wouldn't appreciate it. I personally wouldn't necessarily give a fuck, like if it's well done, if it's an interesting story, sure, why not? And when I see people raging at me and go like, oh, but V, you don't like stories with strong masculine men? Like what? Do you lack the testosterone to appreciate such a story? Are you so insecure? It's like, oh, because you couldn't seduce the sorcerers, you don't like Geralt doing it? I mean, we can have these conversations, which seem to be everywhere on the internet right now, but they would be bad faith, and they would be disingenuous. Because at the end of the day, I do understand where some people would be coming from, even though I personally would enjoy that story. And so, in the case of The Witcher, the reason a lot of people dislike the fact that now you get to play as Ciri, who is becoming a Witcher, is because it feels like a diversity checkbox. It feels like something that had to be done. It doesn't feel as if the original developers genuinely wanted to tell this story. And from the trailer and the promotional material, which is the only thing we can go by, it feels as if it's forced. It feels as if they were trying to make this happen. In my opinion, the story of The Witcher was over. I genuinely thought that the original trilogy was a good continuation after the books, and that's where the story ended. Now, I thought that in Witcher 4, you could play as a completely different character from a completely different school. And that would have been interesting, but instead they chose us to go with Ciri. And so, a lot of people are upset over the fact that you play as Ciri. Again, I don't agree with them. I upset a lot of people for not agreeing, but I can see their point, and their point is a little bit meta as well. Back in 2016, a lot of people were saying that video games aren't in a vacuum, and you need to look at the bigger picture. And so the bigger picture is that there's a lot of franchises lately, a lot of IPs, which have an established male character, and then they gender swap. All of a sudden, we got The Last of Us 2, where in the sequel, you don't play as Joel, you play as Ellie or Abby. You got Uncharted, where in the last installment, you play as two ladies. You got now The Witcher, And it's very similar to the situation with Marvel and the Avengers, where you had people being exposed to the Marvel IP for the first time ever by watching the movie. And they would see the Avengers, and then they were like, wow, this is a cool universe. Like, I want to get into it. Where do I read more about it? Like comic books. Okay. Well, I liked Thor in the Avengers. I thought he was hot. It's what most women would say. And they would be like, okay, well, let's buy the comic book. And when they bought the comic book, instead of seeing the Thor from the movie, they would see female Thor. And we're like, well, that's okay. Well, Iron Man was pretty cool. Like, let's see Iron Man. And you'd buy the comic book, and you'd have like Riri Williams, which is a black female character, but it's not Tony Stark. And so, like, literally every single Avenger, like, you would go through all the comic books and you'd notice, well, where's Wolverine? Oh, it's a chick now. Where's Hulk? Oh, you get Asian Hulk. And so, like, they replaced all of their IPs to the point where the people who liked the originals, like the people who, for instance, in The Witcher, like the people who actually like Geralt, they like his personality, they like his charisma, they like his character. Well, they don't get to play as him anymore. Now you get to play as someone else, which has the exact same abilities, it seems, and it has the exact same movements as Geralt. How do you know? The promotional material. Like, if things changes, I will let you know. But so far, from what I've seen, and based on pattern recognition and stuff that have happened in the past, the leaves in the tea have aligned, the stars are in the sky, and they're telling me that this is what we're going to see. We're going to see like a Geralt with the wigs and tits. And so this is why people are upset. It's because if you were to take Tomb Raider and you would make a sequel and you would remove Lara Croft and instead you'd have Nathan Drake or Harrison Ford, it doesn't really matter if Harrison Ford is a good actor or if people like Nathan Drake and he is popular, or, you know, if the story somehow justifies that you play as the son of Lara Croft. It doesn't fucking matter. What matters is the fact that it's no Tomb Raider. Like, why did you choose to go into an IP that had an established thing and then you replace it, unless you have like an extremely good reason? And a good reason, for instance, would be Batman Beyond. Like, Batman Beyond did it properly, where indeed, like, Bruce is now old, and the setting is different. It takes place in a completely different environment, and you have Terry McGinnis, which is a different personality, and Bruce is still there. So, like, Bruce is still respected. Like, he's not marginalized or anything. But on top of that, you could still read the original Batman comic in parallel, right? So, like, it's not like something was taken away. This is what people view. It's like something is taken away. It's not just The Witcher, but it's usually when the race swap or the gender swap happens. Like, if you like Tony Stark, now you get Riri Williams. So, I can see why fans are upset. And also, you know, Batgirl and Catwoman, same thing. You know, like, they have their own spin-offs. They're their own characters. Like, no one is upset. Notice how no one is upset when you have, like, a female character like 2B from Nier, or you have, like, Stellar Blade, or, you know, like, you have a video game that's an original IP, and all of a sudden you play as a female character. Like, no one complains. Because there's nothing taken away. Like what they took away here are the people who like Geralt. Again, I don't share this criticism. I do not feel this way because I wasn't really that attached to Geralt as a character. But I can understand where someone that feels this way is coming from. Like, it is a legit criticism. And to trivialize it, it's like, oh, the game is woke because it has a woman, means that you do not have the brain capacity to understand. Which is fine, you know, like, not all people are as smart as the subscribers on this channel. Like, we gotta understand that there are some individuals that aren't capable of engaging with more deep philosophical conversations. And all they're like, oh, Gunnar, okay, well, you know, those people exist. We have to figure out ways to talk and communicate with them, but they're not going to be able to engage at the level we're engaging here. And so, yeah, it doesn't surprise me that there is some backlash. I don't think the backlash is that big, though, with The Witcher. Specifically because Geralt was genuinely not a character that was that charismatic, right? Like, he wasn't like Teal'c from Stargate. If they did this to Teal'c, if you had like a new Stargate and all of a sudden they're gender race swapping Teal'c, a lot of people will complain. But with Geralt, especially because like he wasn't designed to be that way, because it's an RPG. So like you get to pick the choices, you get to say the dialogue, and as such, like he's more like an empty vessel that the player gets to fill in order to interact with the world. So I kind of understand why they went with that decision. But yeah, like the other thing is like the pattern, right? We here on the right, we have an ability that left-leaning people don't possess. Unfortunately, it's pattern recognition. And certain individuals realize it's like, okay, well, The Last of Us 2 used to have a male lead, and that one, unlike Geralt, actually did have a more stronger personality. But they decided to kill him off in the sequel, so you get to play as a female character. Okay, like, whatever. It happens, right? And then you have Uncharted. And at the ending of the third Uncharted, it's heavily implied that Nathan Drake is stepping down and his daughter is taking over. And then the next game that comes out, you get to play as two chicks. It's like, okay, another game. All right. Witcher, another game. And there's like a lot more. Like I think there's like 5 or 6 in total which did this, right? Like the original IP was with the guy, and then they changed it with the girl. And so people start to wonder, it's like, well, hold on a little bit. Like, like, it's fine. It doesn't really matter if I play a female character or a male character. But, like, do they generally hate men? Because at one point, like, the question becomes legitimate. Like, if you did this the other way around, if you had, like, female characters everywhere, and all of a sudden, they're replaced by men, like, I could understand if a female journalist from Kotaku would be like, well, hold on a little bit. What's going on? Is there misogyny here? Like, what's happening? Why are they... Like, I understand 1 or 2 games, is there something in common? Are there some consultants working behind the scene? Is there, like, a reason? Do games with female characters sell more than men? I mean, if representation matters, which I don't think it does, but if representation genuinely matters, like, sure, women play video games, but do they play the exact same video games as men? Like, how many women play The Last of Us 2? Right? What is the percentage? Like, if I go online and I look at the people who played The Last of Us 2 and I find like a random nickname and I get $10,000 if I guess if it's a man or a woman, do you think I'm going to get the 10? I think I'll get the $10,000, right? And so the question becomes, it's like, well, hold on a little bit. Why if representation matters, why do they keep changing the characters from established IPs? They're not introducing new characters that you can play side by side with, like, for instance, Resident Evil did. Resident Evil 5 like had Shiva, I think her name was, right? Like, she was the partner of Chris. Was it in 5? I think it was the one with Africa. You know what I'm talking about. But that one, right? Like, it decided to add the new female character, and she was like partnered with the male character. No one got upset, right? But again, I definitely think that if they were to change Tomb Raider, right, instead of Lara Croft, you have Larry Croft, a lot of people will get upset. And so to not understand where these people are coming from, I think is disingenuous. I think it's bad faith. No, I get it. I don't agree, though. Again, I'm not that attached to Geralt. But, like, I can understand, I am attached to other characters. So I can see, like, if I was attached to a character that I like, for instance, I'm attached to Eve from Stellar Blade, or 2B from Nier, right? Imagine playing 2B and they change it and they give you a soy boy, right? Or they put Kratos instead of 2B. I like Kratos. Like, he's a great character, but, like, I want to play with 2B, right? Like, does that make sense? So, I do get where these individuals are coming from. Let me know what you think, though, and I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.